Hi folks, and welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. What you see in the vise is a pulling hopper. So without further ado, let's get into it. What you see in the vise then is a Hanak H 230 barbless hook. This one's at size 10, it's on a medium wire in black nickel. And I like to use this hook, it has an upturned point. It's got enough weight to pull the fly under, because unlike traditional hoppers, the intention with this fly is to have it subsurface and fished in the top 1 to 3 feet of water. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to be using the Semprfli Nano silk. Now as always, if you've watched any of my videos in the past, you'll know when I'm using the Nano silks, I like to just get a touch of super glue onto the shank of the hook. And the reason for that is I find that just using wax doesn't quite cut it with the silks. You end up with body rotation, and I don't want that. So I'm just going to get a bit of silk down to approximately where a barb would be on a hook and remove my waste. Now for the rib of this fly, I'm going to be using some Troutline UV Ribbing fibre. The label's faded quite badly, but this is in hot orange, and I have a little bit taken off here to use. So what I'm going to do with this is, with my thumbnail, it'll be just a little out of focus for you folks, but I'm just flattening out the end. I'm going to dress that up and catch it in on my side, nice and flat, hardly any difference to the body width. And once I've got that in place, I'm going to use some Troutstalkers dubbing. This is the Highland Peat variety, and it's a kind of black dubbing, but it's got flecks of colour throughout it. So it's got yellows in there, reds, purples, really nice. When it's wet though, it does kind of look black. So I'm just going to loosely dub that on to my silk, dress it up. Don't want too much. I'm going to need quite a lot of room at the front of this fly for my hackle. So I'll just build my body now. I want to have a slight taper in there. Not too much. Maybe just need a little bit more dubbing. It's always much easier to add dubbing than it is to try and pull it off the thread once you've dubbed it on. So there we go. Left myself enough room at the front. Next thing I'm going to do is bring my rib round, and the first turn is going to be on the shank of the hook itself, and then I'm going to come up, try and keep your turns nice and even. It just makes the fly look a little better. Does it make any difference to the trout? I'm not so sure. I think the profile is the most important thing with any fly pattern for fishing. Profile and size. The fish don't know how to count turns, the last I knew anyway. We'll just remove our rib. Now I did catch several turns in front of the material there, and that just stops it backing up on you. Now before I go on, holding my thread, I'm going to come in with my dubbing brush and just tease out some of the fibres, and then I'm going to use my brush to sweep that back. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now what you'll be thinking is, oh, you've covered up all the rib, but actually when it's wet, the hot orange does glint through that and it looks really good. Now if there's any fibres that have stuck out that's bothering you, you can come in with a pair of tweezers and just remove them. Okay, next we're going to add our legs. Now for this, I'm going to invert my vise and tie them in the bottom. Now a lot of people, for pulling flies, like to tie the legs in on the top, and although it looks pretty, it's not how insects are. You know, legs are on the bottom. You know, it's like us, legs are on our bottom, they don't come out our back. So what I'm using here is some pre-tied legs. I'm getting lazy in my old age. I used to sit for hours and tie up these, but you can buy them pre-knotted. They're a little bit more expensive, but for me, well worth it. My eyes just can't be doing with sitting tying hopper legs anymore. So what I've done is I've taken 4 off. I'm going to just split them into 2 clumps, and I'm just going to spread them out, pull them up. I don't want them trailing too much behind the hook, and just catch that on. Now once I've got that into place, I'm going to catch a couple of turns in front, then I can come in with my scissors, just remove my waste. Okay, let's bring the vise back round the correct way, and next we're going to tie in our hackle. I'm simply using some dyed hen, it's obviously dyed black, and I've picked out a feather here that I'm going to use. Now at the bottom of the feather you'll see a lot of fluff and stuff. I like to just take that away before I start, so that I've got the feather prepared, if you like. And the first thing I'm going to do is grab my hackle pliers and just catch the tip off the feather. Now all I'm going to do is slick that back, and that'll create a little tag at the front that I'm going to catch in. But before I do that, I'm just going to add a little bit of wax to my silk. Now I want to catch it in so that the bad side of the feather is going down onto the shank of the hook, because I want it to sweep back really. So once I've caught that in, I can come in a couple of turns in front of my tag end and remove it. Now you can, because you've created a little handle here when you stripped away all that bad feather, just use that. But I still like to come in with my hackle pliers. I just think you get a lot more control when you use the tool for the job. So I'm going to bring it up on the first turn, use my thumb and forefinger in my left hand just to pull them feathers back. Now this hackle with hen, you get a lot of movement, and hoppers are traditionally used with cock hackle because they're mostly used as dry flies, but this is fully intended to be under the water straight from the get-go. It won't sink particularly fast, so if you wanted to fish it slowly, there wouldn't be an issue with that. So I'm fairly happy with the amount of turns I've got in there. I'm going to come around, catch that in, 2 or 3 turns, release my hackle pliers. I'm going to pull everything back out the way and just get the feather ready. Now on a better day, when I was feeling confident, I would just pull that away and I'd be fairly happy that I'd get away with it. But as I'm doing a video, as sure as eggs, I'd pull that away, my thread would come off the front and the fly would be ruined. But so I've just used the scissors there to cut the waste away. It's good practice anyway. Okay, we're going to add some cheeks to this. Now what I've got is a jungle cock cape, and it's been dyed picric. Now all the good feathers have gone, so I have picked out one. It took a long time to find a decent feather, and I've already prepared it. And what do I mean by that? Well, with jungle cock, a lot of the feathers, they come with what's called guard hairs at the side, and I've just simply removed the guard hairs. There was a natural split in this feather. You can see it's not perfect, but good enough for government work. So I'm going to grab that, and it's a little large for this size of fly. So what I'm going to try and do is, it's misbehaving, I'm just going to come in again. I'm going to try and catch only a little bit onto my fly. Just to give it a better proportion. Now I'll just check your side first. Yeah, that's sitting not too bad. And then I can come in. Excuse my fingers, I'm just taking away the waste at the front where my jungle cock is. Just going to use my thumb to ease that jungle cock that's on my side slightly drooping down. Just check again before I decide to clamp. So fairly happy with the way that's sitting, and I'm going to build my head. We want a nice reasonable size head to the fly. Then once you're content you've got the right size, you can come in with your whip finisher and finish up the fly. Now if you're new to the channel and you're enjoying what I'm doing, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And all that remains to be done with this fly is finished off. Now you can use head cement and super glue, whatever your poison is. I like to use some Solaris Bone Dry. It comes with a tiny little brush, which is great for finishing flies off. Now usually I would move my vise round so I could see what I was doing, but just for the purpose of the video I've just come in behind there and give it a zap with a torch. And how would I fish this fly? Generally I would have this either on the point or on the top dropper, and I would fish it in a team of flies, probably either 3 or 4. If I was fishing 4 flies they'd be 4 feet apart. If I was fishing 3 flies they'd be 5 feet apart. And come September this pattern really comes into its own. Lots of terrestrials on the water, and this is as good as out. Other than a daddy longlegs, which I probably fish on the point with this, this will catch you a lot of fish. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all again next time.